Welcome back to the Big Cheese Podcast. I think that this is it. We're finally doing it. We're back. It's 2025. I'm with Jacob.
I started like dancing at the beginning. I've never done that before. So I don't know what's
I think we're
happening.
excited. It was probably going to be a terrible show, but we really thank all you guys for listening to us. All 12 subscribers we have left. Brandon is also here.
Hello, everybody. I am Brandon, and we are finally here again. We've been here multiple times, and so like I want to make the point that we haven't just like given up. We've actually continued to try this. We've gone through multiple iterations. We continually kind of get there, but not really. And so just you won't be able to see it, but again, we have all of this amazing equipment, and Sean sent us a photo on Slack that he just went all hog wild, bought a bunch of cameras. We've now got the right equipment, so I think we're here.
Well, we are here. We are here at Crafted.
At the Crafted
so
Studios.
for those, I'm not sure if we've published anything here, but we're at the Crafted Studios. See the sign behind? That's the business that Jacob and I own with our great producer Joe back there, who you can't see. So today we'd like to just get caught up on all these things that are going on. I don't even know where we start. Let's just get after it.
I want to start with like maybe the biggest announcement is NVIDIA's little super AI computer. Digit, okay. Yeah. And so I'm going to say what I think it is, and Brandon's going to inform me what he knows differently, but it's like like those GPUs or computers you can buy in the cloud. They're like powerful ones that you can run all these models on, but localize a little computer like a Apple Mini or a Mac Mini
right.
in your studio.
Yeah,
for
$3,000.
For $3,000, okay.
You can get this like, and it looks like it's maybe a 5x5, maybe a 2 inches thick here. And they're saying it does like, 1,000 teraflops. I don't know, something 128 gig of RAM, but it's basically $3,000 that you can get this thing, and you're going to be able to run your own local large language models on these things. Now, it's basically if you go and you buy like a supercomputer and you run, just a bunch, and you can stick them in parallel too. That's the other thing. You can take two of them and stick them together. So I'm definitely going to be buying one. What will be really interesting is can you like, I wonder how well they can scale up, and like how many people could you actually hypothetically run through these things? Because what I am starting to see is some people they're running these different services and apps, and they're literally running these things with Cloudflare tunnels to their home computer and having their home computer do the friggin' inference right then and there, and not necessarily rely on OpenAI.
Well, how often does your home internet really go out?
Mine all the fucking time.
Well, that's because you live like north of 465.
I have AT&T fiber, and I don't know why. I've never been a huge proponent of AT&T, but they've been rock solid. So I do a lot of Cloudflare tunnels back to my house, and I can remote access. You actually got me on Tailscale and those types of things. So that's cool.
Well, so my mind goes to where all this stuff is at from a decentralized versus centralized perspective. And you have Sam Altman coming out and talking about how they're losing money. And that they made $2.5 billion, but they spent $4 billion. And there's just so much horsepower that's required when all these people are hitting the cloud to do all this work. And then there's multiple use cases for doing it at home, or in-house, which is, privacy, security, and all those things. But then just the fact that the models are getting more ubiquitous, and the fact that you can do this all in the comfort of in-house, it might actually be long-term cheaper than paying subscriptions, because we all know we're going to get YouTube TV by Sam Altman. Like you think you're paying $20 a month for ChatGPT
forever? No.
I mean, at the end of the day, like what's the percent of salary that you're going to have to just fork over to Sam Altman in 10 years?
Right.
Like you're going to be paying him $20K a year just to do your job.
Right. Well, the 200. So that was the other thing that kind of came out just recently with Sam was their announcement was the s03 model. And the s03 model and a new Pro, I think it's called a Pro Plan. I think I'm on a Plus.
It's like $200 a month.
$200 a month.
That's what the one they're losing money on.
Exactly. And I was reading an article, and it basically was saying that that they're estimating that one task with s03 can cost up to $1,000. right? And the reason that they're able to do this, where they're like, oh, look, it's reasoning, it's this new model. It's like they've literally just layered a bunch of them on top of each other. And it's just like, okay, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to do a lot of reasoning, and I'm just going to ask that 1,000 times over and over and over and over again until eventually we get down to an answer that is just, it's not like just this one shot that you do to this s03 model, that there's a lot of things that are going on kind of behind the scenes, and that thing is just burning energy to basically do it. So then on the extreme opposite side, and this is where I think it gets exciting from this model or the digit thing that you can run at your house, is the DeepSeek model that came out of China. Everybody's been talking about it. It's like, I think it might be 3.5. I can't remember the exact number. But what happened is we've actually limited the ability for a lot of these companies to export hardware to China. So they can't necessarily build the same size models that we can. And so we think, well, we're just going to limit their ability to have access to this technology, so they can't actually go and build these really cool things. But what we just did is we made it so they got so fucking efficient that they were able to build this DeepSeek 3.5 or whatever model it is and it was like $6 million or something crazy. It's the amount of that it cost was nothing compared to anything else. And it's actually it's definitely one of the best open source models that are out there. And a lot of people are saying that it's competitive to 4.0 and Claude 3.5 Sonnet. Maybe in certain cases. Don't ask it about Tiananmen Square. Don't ask it about anything negative about the Chinese government, right? Like, you're not going to find a single, it's like, sorry, can't talk about that. Let's talk about something else there, buddy. Right? So it's clearly but it makes sense. Like, China's really trying to position themselves to be able to build out this technology, to be able to release all this stuff, and people are going to use it because I can run this on a very cheap piece of hardware. It's going to cost virtually nothing to run this kind of thing, and you'll be able to have this kind of inference for a cost of literally 10 times less than what ChatGPT 4.0 mini was.
Well, I mean, just go back to kind of the way that AI has proliferated in the United States. It's mostly driven by OpenAI.
Yeah.
And they have just this blank check. Right. And so they're serving their customers, and Altman's sitting there going, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. But then, you don't have a need to be efficient.
Yeah.
Right. And so are they going to be now behind because of that? So I do think I've always been kind of bearish on the fact, like, oh, run a model, you download the model. I'm like, I just want to use ChatGPT, but I think that there's going to be an inflation there that we need to be prepared for. And these really, really deep reasoning pieces, I mean, it seems to me that the technology is not there yet where it's that much cheaper than asking a human to do the work or whatever. You know?
That reminds me of that Devon model or program, the programmer for $500 a month. And if you get, I think we've talked about this before, but basically it's this new service that it's like a reasoning model, or that's what it acts like. You ask it a question in Slack, so it's supposed to be made for like project managers, and like 15, 20 minutes later, it comes back with like a PR or something around whatever. So it's like, one, that's not how people work, in my opinion, and two, it's like, really 15 minutes? Are we really like letting this thing crunch for 15 minutes? And like by that point, like, you know what I mean? Like,
it's just like a developer that doesn't know the answer. It's just spinning his wheels over there.
Dude, yeah.
Except for the developer probably costs a lot less in 15 minutes than this model does in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, I was running through one today. Actually, it was this morning, where I was like, hey, does Swift have an image editor just kind of like built in that I could just use? And it's like, oh yeah, it does. It's got, UI photo picker or whatever. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's fucking do that, right? So it goes and it does that. And then I run it and I click the thing and it like opens up the photo selector and I'm like, I needed a photo editor, not a photo picker. And I was like, oh, my mistake. I've got a different idea. So then it starts going and it goes, I'm going to use the UI photo thing. And I'm like, okay. And I'm watching it. It's like, ooh, no, I found a better thing, the UI photo picker. And it does it. And it's like, oh, no, I found a better thing, the UI photo selector. Oh, no. And eventually I'm like, hey, you fuck, what are you doing? Like, just stop. I need you just to use this. And then eventually it's like, oh, it doesn't even have one. The one doesn't exist.
It's being trained to try stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. And so you have to beat it though. You have to beat this thing up and you eventually have to be like, fucking stop. Like, so it's wild.
I think I agree. It's so agreeable. Like I agree with you. I agree with everything.
I agree.
If I went in the other day, I forget the task, but it spit out an answer and I was like, I don't think that's right. It sounded right, but I just didn't believe it. So I said, do you think that's right? And then it said, no, you're right. That's wrong. And it did this like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the web search is, I think, a crucial feature for using an LLM.
Yeah.
Go out to the web. So you're going to ask it a question around an emerging technology or Swift or some language or programming language that changes often. What's the best image editing tool that it has?
Right.
Go search the web. Find an article on Reddit, most likely,
Yep.
that
that's the
people
only
are
place new
talking about
content's
this.
being created.
Yeah, exactly. But like just searching its database that was updated, who knows, 6 months ago,
Right.
yesterday, 2 years, we don't know.
Dude, it has one of these things that just drives me nuts. Is like, I'm like, I need you to debug this. All right. So we eventually get to a point where I'm screaming. I'm down in my basement, literally yelling. And for whatever reason, when I'm yelling at the LLM, I'm also saying it out loud. So like my wife can hear me upstairs. I'm like, why the fuck are you not listening to me? It's all in uppercase. Like I'm just raging. And she comes up, she's like, what's going on? I'm like, it's not listening to me. And so then I go and I finally get it to like, okay, do this, dude. But so now every single time I'm like, stop, I need you to do a full chain of thought of what you're going to do before you do anything. Don't do anything. Just tell me what you're going to do. And then it does a pretty good job. It goes through and it tries to break it down. And I'm like, nope. I see what you're trying to do. Don't do that. Don't change that file. Never change that file. That cursor rules is now turning out to be critical.
Oh, yeah.
Because
So
go in there.
what are cursor rules?
So cursor rule is just like a get ignore, right? But it's
okay.
basically, I think all it really does is it just every single time that prompt happens, you just take that cursor rules and whatever's in there, it's just going to pump it in there. So I'm like, you can't do prints. Like right now, Claude 3.5 doesn't realize that you can't do prints within Swift unless it happens within this like on appear thing. And like if you just try to throw like a console log, which they're equivalent of, and it just throws errors, and it just does it all the time. And I'm like, you asshole! How many times have we done? Oh, I'm so sorry, dude. I keep screwing this up. I will say, out of all of them, Claude, I like Claude. I like Claude as a human, as like this human concept, where ChatGPT is just a bitch, but Claude admits when he's an asshole. Claude will cuss back at me like when it was. Claude has personality and none of that swearing that it does, because like again, I swear at it all the time, so it swears back at me in the comments, never ends up in the code.
I have, once again, going back to the OpenAI thing, always been just, ChatGPT, OpenAI, right? And then started using Cursor. And just naturally, like just through user experience, I never use ChatGPT 4.0 for coding. I always use Claude Sonnet, whatever the latest version is. Yeah. And it is always better, in my opinion. Yeah. In my experience. And it's like, if you're coding and you're looking at, hey, what's the best way to code and be efficient? Right now, I think it's Cursor as an IDE, which is a fork of VS Code, and then don't use the ChatGPT model. Yeah. You pay the $20, use the Claude model. Yep. And the Claude and break it down into doable tasks. But also challenge it. Be like, you know what? Let's go ahead and replace this entire npm module.
Refactor. Like the refactoring stuff is kind of crazy. So like I realized that I was like, ooh, I called this one thing a binder, and I was like, it's really just a folder, and I've got binder kind of throughout my code base now. I'm like, all right, let's just see what happens, buddy. And I'm like, let's just go and get everything. Let's get a clean Git repository because we're going to go wild. And I'm like, all right, I want you to rename anything that has binder in it to folder. And dude, it went through. I mean, we're talking core data, like my database models, like components, dialogues, friggin' everything.
Well, let's dial into that really quick, because I think that's something that folks don't understand, which is the models and the capabilities now is it's not just drafting code in a chat that's off page. Yeah. We're talking about in IDE editing multiple files and saving them at once. Yes. And are we all
100%
doing that?
Oh, dude, so this one app that I've been working on, which is all Swift, I've touched maybe 10% of the code. Maybe 10% of the code. The rest of it is literally me just yelling at it until it finally does what I need. Now, again, I will yell at it for hours until it eventually gets to where I need it to be.
How's your blood pressure doing?
Oh, God. I actually have very low blood pressure, which is kind of crazy. But I do.
How often, how long until there's some sort of terms of service with AI where it's like, you're abusing this AI. You're not accepting. You're not prompting it correctly. You're wasting tokens here. We're gonna increase your monthly rate.
It's like the internet when they it's all unlimited, but really they're like, hey, you went over a terabyte this month. We're gonna throttle you. Right?
And maybe there's some education there for
No, there's not, because here's the thing: is it does better. It does better when I eventually finally start swearing at it. It does. It eventually goes, oh my God, you're absolutely right. I totally see. And it's usually like, oh, fuck, I'm sorry. I totally see what you're talking about now.
Well, isn't that kind of like the way the neural pathways work, where it's like, okay, so it's going down a path, right? And it's all down there.
Yeah.
Right? And it's going to stay there.
I know, but
until you tell it, no, you really got to bring it back to the beginning.
But it doesn't, because you would think as it goes down that path and it's like, fuck, and you asshole, and you're stupid and you're worthless, and like, I'm going to go use ChatGPT unless you can figure this shit out kind of thing, that it's like, oh my God. And it's like really like, and it'll swear back and be like, let me get this clusterfuck figured out, blah, 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 blah. But then it starts writing the code, and the code's pristine. There's not a single swear word in any of the code. In any of it. Not a single comment that says like, I'm fixing this because I'm an idiot and I screwed this up, right? No, it's just like, boop. So it's magic. It's magic.
That's where that there is this part of it all where it gets down to this unexplainable thing, and that's why you have like Altman and other people like tweeting about AGI and singularities and all that. It's
what they say recently? They said they're closer to AGI than they originally thought. Anybody see that?
Why do they always throw out these sensational things?
Because they have to. Because that's the only way that they're going to stay in the zeitgeist.
This is Musk's. We're 1 year away from
full self-driving.
Yeah.
Right. And that I'm Adrian Dittman or whatever the hell that guy's name is.
Pull up to Binford and 75th Street and try to turn left from Binford to 75th, and there's 3 lights that are all pointing slightly different
does your car
directions.
Does it go bananas?
And they all turn green. Oh, that'll kill somebody if it goes full self-driving. Every single time it goes ding, and I'm like, no.
Did Google? So they invested in what Waymo, and they're using LiDAR, right?
Are they?
Yeah, and I think that those cars work well.
Well, when I was in Scottsdale, I saw a ton of Waymos. People using them.
Their issue though is, I think it's like a couple things, but like. One, they get to like a busy intersection. We've all been there at a busy intersection, and like you basically got to be an asshole and pull out in front of someone, right?
Yeah.
Like Chicago. You've ever driven in New York or Chicago?
There were 4.
They won't go.
There were 4 Waymos all at an intersection, and they all were like, nope.
So the only solution to that is, one, etiquette from other drivers would have to change. Yep. We would have to inform people like, hey, if you see one of these little guys stuck,
right? But if it's all 4 of them at the intersection,
they should be fine though. They should be able to communicate.
You would think, you would think. But then again, I watched another dude who got in it at the airport, and it just started driving around in a circle. and he was on the phone with him. He's like, am I in a movie right now?
And he couldn't get out.
He couldn't get out.
Yeah.
It just kept going around in a circle.
Yeah.
Well, my biggest fear, and it's kind of in that movie. What's the movie?
Maximum Overdrive.
Roberts, and it's like, is it? It's like
Pretty
about
Woman.
the end of the world.
Oh.
It dropped on Netflix last year. But there's a scene in the movie where all the Teslas are like stacked up on one street.
Civil War. Was that it?
No, that's with the chick from Spider-Man.
Oh.
I would have agreed to anything you said because I don't know what movie he's talking about.
Job, you're gonna have to look that up. But it's a Netflix movie. But there's a scene where all these Teslas basically are just completely been apprehended by whatever's going on, where there's some sort of invasion happening,
right?
Yeah,
and some sort of intelligence.
The other issue that I just remembered was it's a security issue or a safety issue where like the cars they stop for pedestrians, right? So to rob somebody, people are literally just stepping in front of the car, and then like
and they won't move.
Yeah, they won't move. Then someone else like breaks in or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know exactly how
these things are going to have to start getting aggressive. Like if all of a sudden it feels like it's under attack, it needs to have like some ankle like snaps. Just whoop, bam.
I personally think the biggest side effect of AI potentially. I read something today. Potentially leave the world behind. Yes. Leave the world behind.
Eyesight, Jesus Christ. I was
a
like,
Netflix movie.
Yeah, that's incredible. He doesn't even have glasses.
Plays this like Karen character,
right?
And they're in an Airbnb, and the Airbnb hosts come back home during their stay, and they're like, "The world's ending. We're gonna go ahead and come back, and like we're gonna be here." and there's this friction. She's like, okay, but there's kind of actually a huge plot hole. They never cover it, but like there's like, why are you actually here? Because you don't really know what's going on. But it's a whole dystopian, alien invasion.
Movie?
It's I think it's a good movie. But like all the deer all are like out in the yard, like freaking out. Like
Right.
they see the future and they see what's going on. There's in the Tesla scene is just epic because eventually Elon's just gonna press power down on all our Teslas and be like, ha ha, I'm in the power.
He's gonna laugh just like that.
and all those Neuralink people are just gonna be like,
I mean, how far will Elon Musk go to get what he wants? He wants to get to Mars. He wants to do this. He wants to do that, and he doesn't respect people that don't want to do unbelievably new things, right? And that's why he's gunning for the presidency, right? Is because he knows he can't do what he can't do without absolute power.
I truly. So this will be we never released anything of the last one we did, right, with the Riverside, right? So we never talked about any of this.
No.
So we've not actually talked about anything with Trump now being elected officially as far as the thing. So the fact that Elon and Trump are now kind of trying to be buddy, I will predict that by February, March, that relationship doesn't last.
No way.
Right. The egos are just they're too much. But it is
the only caveat to that. I agree, but I think Elon's gonna make him filthy rich, and I think Trump's ego is only surpassed by his
desire
for more money.
He put $250 million into his campaign.
Yeah. So again, I'm hopeful. I'm gonna hold out. I'm gonna hope that that like I did when Trump was elected in 2016, that he has an opportunity to come in and to make some great stuff. Naming it the Gulf of America and saying that we want to make Canada the 51st state and we're gonna absorb Greenland.
What's with the Greenland thing? Do they have like some
there's
minerals?
There's a strategic.
Yeah.
There's a strategic military value.
Yeah. Totally. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of but again, like it's just like this is just not the way. But I'm done. I'm not. I'm not.
First Mike hit of the day.
I'm not doing it. I'm not participating. I don't care anymore. I'm not gonna. I'm off every political website. I'm not there.
You know what really frustrates me though about all this stuff is like people are already beating the drum about the egg prices or whatever. I'm like, guys, there's no need to say anything. Just let him implode.
Do it.
He will.
Yeah.
Like things are not gonna go the way and it's not gonna matter anyway. You're wasting your energy.
Right.
Like eggs could be $10 this time next year. No one would give a shit on his side.
Right.
Like it was never about that. So stop wasting your time. Like they don't care.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. I'm done with that rant. But
yeah, I think that Musk is paying $2,000 a night right now, and he's living at Mar-a-Lago.
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 And he ain't playing golf.
That's true. Does he even play golf? I wonder if Elon even plays golf. I don't think he does.
I'm sure he doesn't. He plays Diablo.
Yeah, that's true. Number one.
I heard that wasn't real. I heard he pays someone to play for him, which would make sense. But how would you have that much time? Anyway.
Let's get back to something. Let's get back to something else. Personal observation. I've been working with a couple different enterprise clients lately, and the word AI still hasn't even come up there.
Yeah.
And I know your enterprise clients have.
Yep.
And it's just so surprising to me that people are still like talking about reorgs and like decoupling and like advanced technology. They're not even like approaching AI.
So it's not even a conversation point for them. So which is weird because again, so I've talked about Farm Bureau as one of my bigger clients here, Indiana Farm Bureau, and they're all in. I mean, they're all in with like trying to figure out how they can use AI to make things, because they've been around for 5,000 years, I think, is how old that company's been.
They insured the last dinosaur.
They were. That was like those, and they lost their ass, obviously. No, but they've been around for like 95 years or something like that. And so they've got code bases like from COBOL. I mean, they've got huge COBOL. They've got old mainframes.
Is there a COBOL model?
So IBM is working on one.
That would be insane.
It has
That's
to.
A great use
they
case
have
for
to
AI.
because you have to. Like, there's so many people that are now retiring. They don't know what their AI.
So explain the COBOL AI coding problem.
So the problem is that with COBOL like you can't just like look at COBOL and like go, oh, I get what's going on here. Like it's actually really, really hard to kind of comprehend. And like with JavaScript and everything else, all of these large language models, there's a shit ton of JavaScript programs, Python programs, .NET programs, all on GitHub, right? So these large language models are consuming all of it and being trained on everything that's out there on GitHub. There's like 5 COBOL projects on GitHub.
Yeah, like why would you there's no reason.
None,
no.
right? And so like nobody really understands it. And so like you can give it COBOL and you can be like, hey, explain this to me, but the hallucinations are just off the charts. And so IBM realizes this. A lot of these companies who have these old systems, they do need a way for them to basically be able to build documentation on their entire systems to start being able to migrate to new languages. And IBM is using Watson. And I think that's where IBM, because IBM apparently owns COBOL. Like IBM, the company, I think, and again, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm not, whatever, but roughly I thought that was the thing, that they actually own it. So it would make sense to use Watson as kind of like a COBOL code editor that would then hopefully be able to help you be able to migrate to something, that happened within the last, 40 years.
Have you guys looked at Palantir at all?
Oh yeah, well, yeah. I mean, they're the darlings in terms of like all the crypto boys love to invest in them and everything else.
Why do the crypto boys like it?
For whatever reason, it's always just been one of those things. Right when the GameStop stuff was going on, Palantir was another one that people were like, "Yeah, we're all in. We all love them."
Palantir is a AI company that actually advertises the capability of utilizing AI to do things, to actually affect operational processes in complex businesses like manufacturing and things like that.
Yeah,
right.
It's expensive. It's expensive, but again, I think they are probably the most advanced company in that space.
Yeah, there was a tweet about a very well-known aerospace company, and they're like, "What's the number one threat to your business today?" And the dude goes, "Palantir."
Yeah.
And so I don't. Have you seen the CEO on his CNBC appearance? Huh. He was popping zinnies and spinning books on his hands during the interview.
The Palantir CEO?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It was like,
no wonder
I immediately just logged on to Robinhood and just loaded up.
When the Gen X ADHD CEOs start popping off.
He popped his in during the live broadcast and was just, he was like half paying attention during the interview. And I was like, this guy, he's either the next WeWork or he's got something up his sleeve.
They've got their tech stack, and their tech is very, very impressive from everything I've heard.
It was like if this then that with AI built in between for like literally like
on scale, SAP. Like like huge
you know what I mean?
Huge
scale.
Right.
Yeah. I mean that's the stuff that excites me the most. Like I get what OpenAI is doing with their new Pro Plan, but it's kind of like just brute force, right?
It's stupid.
It's like, hey, what if we just kept putting it through the machine over and over and over again?
That's why I'm down on them.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think they're going to be like the Ameritech of AI.
No, so you know what I mean? the one area that
Ameritech, hit me up on the comments.
The one area that I'm the most bullish on though is with ChatGPT is the voice.
Yeah.
Now
I
I haven't done the Google one. So my sister, I think it was my sister. I think Kim's using Gemini voice.
I heard that's like ongoing conversation
right,
stuff.
and that could be another one. But I'll spend an hour, I'll go on long walks and I'll have an hour-long conversation with ChatGPT about whatever it is I'm trying to solve.
Well,
I have not been able to reproduce that in anything else yet. I need to try it with Gemini.
I might be too stupid to understand the difference, but like, what about this whole promise of like I'm sure someone's coming out with this, but like the whole earpiece with the live translations, and you're just like talking back and forth with somebody? Because I've used ChatGPT for live translations, and it works really well as long as you have a good internet connection. There's a little bit of a lag, but probably better than Google's Translate app, right? And it's like, I also use it for conversations and just like, because sometimes you have a hard time articulating what you're asking on Google, right? Because you don't know yet.
Right.
So it gives you, conversations are a good way to unearth like new findings about a subject you're not so familiar with.
Right.
So I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that they're way off base on the pro stuff. And
I 100% agree. Yeah. The knowledge and the $200 a month thing. Again, you should have made it $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
Like there's no fucking reason.
They're iterating on models, right? They're not deploying applications and in specific use cases to companies?
So again,
it's just a different business.
But I don't think there's this weird hybrid that's happening now where we're going to have the LLMs that are going to do the work, but there is a lot of things that are happening on that application level. And why it costs $1,000 isn't just because we're sending one prompt to o3,
sure,
right? We're like sending 1,000 prompts to o3 or whatever that thing is.
But I think as models become more ubiquitous, I think it's more about the implementation of the technology inside of
for sure
existing operational processes and businesses.
And not just this like standalone, like I'm just going over to this land and having a chat with AI.
And I'm not even talking about SaaS. I'm talking about inside. Like, let's be honest. For the past 20 years, we kept solving these problems that over and over. We solved communication. We solved social media. We solved image sharing.
Right.
We solved, ruined teenagers' lives. Right. But like, where was the impact on these like really, really, really critical core economic foundational pieces like manufacturing, environment, energy,
right,
healthcare, right?
Yeah, you bring up manufacturing. I had this thought this last week was I think that's where AI really can make a big impact in 2025. I know we haven't done a ton of predictions, but I think I don't know. I saw some video where like a robot was like learning as it just like you showed it the path, and then it was using AI or whatever to like, okay, I know that path now and I can remember that and redo that task or whatever. Like that's probably where it has the best application of just like being able to infer things. Like we can show it something or we can do, robotics and automation and those types of things, like make our jobs easier for things that we're already doing in the first place. But
when we say we make our job easier, right? Really though, what we're saying is that, I'm going to be able to make a robot do your job. And by the way,
yeah, well,
see
that's
you
true.
fuckers later because you're going to get fired and we're going to have a robot.
Did you guys see the AutoCAD stuff that came out in the last couple of weeks?
No.
Somebody basically bolted on or built into their AutoCAD just a LLM.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, and it was really advanced engine, like physical, product, like actual physical engineering stuff I know nothing about. But it was like, give me a box with like 3 screw holes in it. And then like they just kept iterating on the design and they just sat there and kept talking to it and it designed the entire product. They never touched a click.
Dude, that's where we're going to get. That's it.
Here's my fear on that. That's super cool. And I've done the same thing in our world where I've said scaffold out the whole thing and whatever. I don't know what it fucking just wrote. Right? So I have to dig in.
You have to go through it.
But here's where I'm.
Well,
here's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that business people are going to see, I'll show you one example before I get to that. I showed one time someone live. I showed them the browser or the website, and they were like, "Oh, I wish that button was blue." So I opened up the editor and I just typed in the blue hex or whatever, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, it's so easy!" And and I was like, "Oh no!" When you show, and that's this minor example, but when you show business people how easy something can be done, they automatically assume everything can be done that way.
But that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And some business guy is going to go build an application, and it's going to look legit, and we're all going to be like, "Oh, this is really cool!" And look, it's asking, it's going to be my new crypto wallet, so I'm going to go put all my crypto in it. And the next thing you know, his shit's going to go south. It's going to blow up, and he's not going to have any idea how to fix it.
Did you see all the Chrome? This is a sort of tangent, but all the Chrome extensions that had security issues last year?
No,
90% of them were ChatGPT for this thing.
I bet. Again.
And it's just like people. That's totally sidebar, but I'm sure a bunch of people built a bunch of things.
100%, dude.
And then
if you, and that was like right now on LinkedIn. My post that's for this week that's just gone viral is my like in 5 years. It's the only people that are going to be able to build amazing apps with AI are still developers. Like there and
do people disagree with you?
Yeah. So I had this one guy, I loved him. So he's like that's bullshit. He's like, I've built 80 to 90% of 2 enterprise applications, and I'm like, I want to see him. And so we scheduled a thing, and he shows me Blitzy, I think is the name of the product that he was using. And what he showed me was basically a huge document that outlined like how you build it, what the database structure is, all of the things for this enterprise application. I'm like, and it says that he's at 80% complete with this, right? And I'm like, a couple things. First of all, he's way more nerdy than he would ever admit. Like, he's like, I'm not a developer. I'm like, I saw how you broke things down. Like, if I would have introduced you to a computer when you were 8, dude, you would be a developer, no question. So, second thing, you have nothing that's running. It's all documentation right now. right? You're literally at 20%.
That's stop. Stop it right now.
Yeah.
And go. No, you're not. No. Business. I'm totally with Jacob. I'm down on business guy going to go make business app on his own. That's not how this is built. Cursor's not built for business people.
No.
Right? The AutoCAD app's not built for business people.
Right.
It's built for engineers.
Right.
And engineers are just going to do their jobs differently or have the option to.
Exactly.
Right? And Cursor's just going to make it faster for a guy who knows what he's doing to write code.
Exactly.
And you know what? If you want to do stuff with AI, you're like for Job, you're back here, you're a CFO. You can go and do all kinds of data analysis on your spreadsheets and ask it questions and do. That's what you should be doing.
He can also ask it questions about the development process and get more insights to ask us better questions. That doesn't mean
you still can't write any code.
No, and we talked about Replit, and there are ways for people who are non-developers to build prototypes and to get ideas.
Right.
I think
that's great.
All the tools that have ever come up that have made the calculator, it made it easier for non-mathematicians to do complicated cosine blah blah blahs, and so they could become engineers, right? Like the thing is, like, they're not now mathematicians, or I'm not a designer because I can use Figma to make something easier, because Figma does make designing easier. Like these are just tools that make implementing these things easier. Exactly. It doesn't make you.
It doesn't make you. It doesn't make you.
You know who's at risk in this whole situation? It's the person that is in marketing but doesn't know how to edit their WordPress site. It's the business person that's never mocked up requirements.
Yeah.
Right. It's the product owner that's never even tried to create a wireframe. Right. It's the people that refuse to actually do any of the work and just want to talk that are going to get replaced, because the people that you don't have to be a developer to be involved in the creative process. You don't have to be an engineer to be involved in the creative process. I was on a call with a client today, and I was like, they were basically saying every single thing in our business revolves around this tech that we are acquiring. And there's nothing else that we can do until we analyze this tech. And at the end of the conversation, it was, this has nothing to do with tech. This has to do with, what do you want from the company that you acquired?
Right.
What do they do that you want to integrate into your business? That's the conversation. And they can do all that work. And that's going to impact the design and the creative process. And if they're able to take some of that, use ChatGPT, but you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There's still so much value in being a part of that process and helping it. And developers have to. I've met so many developers that become such domain experts in what they're working on, and I'm always kind of like surprised about it. I'm like, that's cool, but like, and you learned all that stuff, but it's almost like you learned it because otherwise no one would have learned it. Like, you know the business better than the business does.
Yeah.
Right. Like, the ins and outs of the...
Yeah, because nobody would have done it.
Because you had to write the logic. Like, somebody just said, you know what, I'm in healthcare, but I don't know anything about the healthcare marketplace. I don't know anything about pricing. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't really know anything about how a claim is adjudicated in the system.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And that's how the AI models can help the two talk. So... basically, I think what we're saying is change the paradigm. Stop thinking about it as like, oh, we can do more with less, or we can, now we don't need developers anymore. Think about it more like, no, now your developer maybe can focus more on what they're good at, and you can use this tool to bridge that gap so business can actually communicate and developers can actually communicate to each other, right? And vice versa. Every department, right, like, should be able to communicate better with these types of tools, not just get rid of them. Yeah. Like, you still need them.
Yeah, or try to do it on your own.
Yeah.
Because that's not the answer.
Yeah, well, and the thing I want to add on that is, like, do it on your own if that's what you need to do, right? Like, if you are a startup that has $50 in a bank account and an idea, and some hustle, okay, go use some tools and try to build something on your own. Fail because it's fine, because that's what you have to do. Yep. You have to build it, then burn it, then build it and burn it, But, like, eventually you get to the point where you know enough to be dangerous, and then you go talk to the people that know how to implement it, and now you can make a way better product because you know what you're talking about.
And I will say, your argument on LinkedIn wasn't that non-developers can't create apps.
No.
That was not the argument. Your argument was that basically, the profesh level,
amazing
production
apps.
Scale, amazing apps. Yeah. There's some expertise there. And a lot of people say, well, I'm not a developer. Well, they actually usually like really good at design or something like that.
Right.
But there's there is a value to, instead of going, hey, let me hire this developer to do this MVP. Yeah, go try to prototype out something yourself.
Hell yeah, dude.
Go and but think about it differently. Don't think about it as like, I'm going to hand off this. I'm going to guaranteed be able to scale this.
No, right. Yeah, you're going to give them a pile of shit, but it's going to force you to go through that experience. It's going to force you to think through it. It's going to force you to go, oh, I have to think through a database.
Yeah.
Like, what's a database?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, I hear too many times. I mean, we've gotten very far into projects before, and I hear clients say, like, well, I'm not a developer. I wouldn't know where to begin on that, whatever decision. And I'm like, I don't think you need to be a developer.
That is just a cop out of responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all that is.
Yeah.
The people are constantly trying to avoid accountability.
Yeah.
Right.
And on the other side too, I've heard developers say things like, well, I don't know your business. So, you know,
I'm not a business guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know where to begin. Like, well, you meet each other in the middle.
You
Like,
assholes go have a drink.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, I think that the year is starting off in a very interesting way. We're kind of similar place to where we were in some ways a year ago.
Yeah.
I mean, you looked at some of our predictions. We talked about Google become like Google was like, we were down on Google.
Yeah.
Jacob's prediction was that Google was going to get better, and they have.
Yeah.
And they have.
Yep.
I mean, OpenAI, ChatGPT is still out there now. We've totally changed the way we write code in the last year because of Cursor, and in ID that was a huge paradigm shift.
I think they're going to be $1 billion company. Either that, or they're going to get if they're going to fuck something up. But they have an opportunity right now to go hyperbolic.
Yep. I think Claude was kind of the dark horse winner of 2024.
Yeah.
And Anthropic.
Yep.
Yeah.
And by the way, I wanted to make one comment about Europe versus the United States. When was the last time you used Mistral?
Oh yeah, it's gone.
It's gone. You know what happened to Mistral?
Was that the EU's?
The EU happened to Mistral.
The regulations of these, the country. Now, again, that could be a very beneficial thing that we have with chaotic Trump coming in, is that we're not going to have a lot of these over regulations on things. I hope.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're regulating to avoid the end of the world. But Mistral, for example, was a competitive AI player, right, for a while.
Yeah,
and they basically got forced to change their product roadmap to start to input a bunch of risk management stuff. Yeah. And you haven't heard of them since.
No.
Yeah. And you look at gave opportunities to the Silicon Valley startups like Anthropic.
It's because America's the best.
And I will say that the biggest thing I think that's changed since our last podcast, January 2024, I was looking at was or like our
We've had
prediction.
one before January.
No, our prediction podcast. Our prediction podcast.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Which took me forever to find, by the way, because it wasn't named very well. Was like there's this absolute resurgence of maybe it does kind of help to be entrepreneurially friendly.
Yeah.
And these companies have really done well.
Right.
And we'll see. And hopefully that laissez-faire attitude doesn't cause the singularity. And
I might just build it with my digit from NVIDIA down in my basement.
So let's just quickly to finish it off. Since we did predictions last year, let's do a quick on the spot. Each person give their 2025 AI prediction.
No.
Nope.
Not doing it. Not yet. It's
pussy.
Yeah. Well, it's like, so where do we end up with this, with 2020, where are we at 2026? Right? Where do we end up in 2026 with AI and everything that we've seen so far?
ChatGPT is basically 3 years old at that point.
So we've got probably, they'll probably call it like P7 would be the name, I assume, of the model that they were going to call like at the end of it. Like 03 to P7 makes a lot of sense because they had like 1.0, then they go to 03, like they're naming things all fucked up. So they're going to keep just throwing money at these things. I think OpenAI is. I think I'm going to be bullish on the open source model. I think we're going to get to a point at the end of this year that you're going to have real models that are going to be competitive, truly competitive for 4.0 that can run on your M3 Mac Mini.
I would agree with that.
And fast.
I think more products, and this is not my prediction.
Okay.
I think more products will ship with models built onto them that are
100%.
for a decentralized AI.
Right.
right? I think that things are going to ship with models on them. To decent. So I guess that will be my prediction. I think that AI will become much more decentralized than people potentially thought, based off of the cost that it's incurring to centralize it. With the caveat that says, I'm usually the person that doesn't think of that doesn't use is it Moore's law that technology is going to keep getting better and better and better, and that they'll overcome it. Yeah. But that's my prediction.
Yeah, I think that
is it Moore's law?
No, Moore's law.
Yeah. I think that search in large language models will become the biggest step forward for us. So I think
I use it. Do you use search in ChatGPT?
Yeah, but I think that'll be the biggest advance that we have because
dude, that's boring as shit.
Why?
Just search in LLMs is going to be the biggest thing we're going to do in 2025.
It'll be proliferated. You don't use it that much yet.
I don't use it at all. I don't use it at all.
What?
So here's the thing.
Every day I use it.
Because you're smart. But I think that...
Were you like Perplexity or were you...
No, I use ChatGPT. I go to ChatGPT. I hit the little the search icon down in the lower button. I'm like, here's what I'm looking for. I need you to do this, this, and this. And then I let it go and do its searches.
I don't use it at all.
I think it'll be by default moving forward.
I did keep Perplexity as a default for a while.
Yeah.
But the only thing that drove me nuts about it is I was like, I want to go to Microsoft. And so I searched Microsoft and it gives me a bunch of shit. Just give me the link to Microsoft.
That is a big prediction because Google is, and I think that as the prediction with the most unintended consequences, because the web is at risk because we're no longer linking. Mm-hmm. We are, but we're not. With AI, the what are we calling Google's AI search?
Gemini.
No, when you Google something, it's the AI.
Gemini.
No, the results you get when you type in Google.
Gemini.
I actually don't know.
It's not called Gemini. It's called AI Insights or AI whatever.
Yeah, I think
AI summaries.
Yeah,
Gemini Insights.
No, it's not. It's not called that. Put that on the record.
What fucking model do you think's using it?
But that's not what it's called. They have a name for it.
Oh, they do.
But it doesn't. It may link to something.
Yeah.
But basically, what I've been saying the whole time, there's no incentive right now to create content on the internet because people aren't finding content. Mm-hmm. They're getting content summarized by AI, and I think there's this. I don't like the artificial data. I don't like that stuff.
Right.
And so that's why Reddit's going crazy. All the unique content's getting created on platforms, not websites. And I do think that there's a starvation. And hopefully they find a way to incentivize continuing to create content.
Yeah. Because the AI results or LLM results are great and all. I want to get to the source though. I want to figure out I want to dive deep when I ask a question. When ChatGPT gives me the high level, the next thing I do is I go look up those things. Right.
So I'm just using it just to get the results back. Right.
Yeah.
Just give me ability to write a prompt to get my results, and then I go deep dive into each of those things.
Yeah. I also think Siri is going to fail. Apple is going to fail at making Siri smarter this year.
Just make it to April so I can get long-term capital gains.
Yeah, I'm just waiting. When's Siri going to stop being such an idiot?
Well, one thing I think is a problem is at this point, they don't have their own model. That's the problem, right? Yeah. Google is trying to make Google Home smarter. Mm-hmm. It's already great at search, right? If I ask, hey, Google, whatever, it can go to the web and get the information. Yep. They can get Gemini into there, which they're doing. That just becomes a way more powerful platform.
Right.
Apple's not going to have that.
No.
Prove me wrong, Apple.
All right. Here's a bold prediction. Our first AI terrorist attack.
Oh.
Jesus.
Something is going to go rogue and something's going to happen.
I definitely think that we see something that goes horribly, horribly wrong. And with unintended consequences are going to be we're all going to be like, oh my God. Oh my God, we had no idea that it could be that bad.
It's at first it's going to come up and it's going to be like a normal thing, and then so they're going to look under the covers and they're like, there was kind of an LLM there that it was talking to.
Yeah, some sort of AI nuclear Armageddon thing that happens.
Probably drone related.
It could be. Right. Yeah. No, it's. I do think, or it's going to be a company who's going to have something that some agentic thing that they've been building is going to go make 100,000 decisions in a 25 seconds, and literally just sells everything, every single asset that they have.
Yeah.
And it's going to be catastrophic. thousands of people are going to lose their jobs, and it's going to be a fucking tale for the century.
Okay,
So
here's
you guys
another.
think like the world's gonna end?
No.
Just a tragedy.
It's just going to be a
Nothing-
shit show.
Nothing worse than the normal, 10 hurricanes and
Exactly.
20 fires and,
LA
4
burning
wars.
down, basically.
I got one more prediction. You will see 1,000 times more Bitcoin ATMs throughout the United States this year than you'll ever have seen in the rest of your life combined. There's one right when you walk into Keystone Mall.
Yeah.
Bitcoin
really?
ATM.
Right.
Almost every gas station's putting Bitcoin ATM right now.
So here's the thing: is that do people actually use it?
No, they use it to get cash.
No, they don't. See, that's the thing. That's what I think is bullshit. Because I was actually a good steward when I was a Bitcoin person.
He's just salty because he sold all his Bitcoin for a pizza.
So hear me out. So I had like 5 or 6 Bitcoin, right? And I had it tied to an ATM card, so I could just go and spend it. Bent rail. I would go buy my drinks with my Bitcoin. Right. Yeah. And so like I bought liquid psilocybin off of the black web for like 2 Bitcoin, 2.5 Bitcoin.
Edit that out.
And no, you can keep it in there. It's fine. I didn't take it. It was more for experimentation, just to see if it would work, and it did.
I thought you meant cyanide.
No, it's magic mushrooms.
Yeah.
And but no, so I literally was spending I probably spent $400,000 or $500,000 on drinks at Bent Rail just using those. People don't use it. Like, people are not taking their Bitcoin and converting it to cash. And if you are, you're an idiot.
That's what people are doing.
I know, but what are they doing it for? Like, are they
because
actually
that's
doing
where their
it?
money is.
I see. I don't buy it. I don't
that's
buy
interesting.
it.
That's
I
where
don't
their
buy it.
money is, and they need to convert it to cash to use it to pay for stuff.
Is it?
Yes. That's what's happening. Go watch those ATMs. It's all about opening up your wallet, and they're taking a little bit.
Oh, no. They take a huge fucking chunk.
They want your Bitcoin.
Oh, of course they want your Bitcoin.
So what is it? It's simple. They're trying to convert cash into Bitcoin.
Right.
Right.
But they can do it. They can also do it for as long as it's under, I think it's 10 grand. Then they don't need to capture your ID. You don't need to do anything like that. So it is a good way for you to launder and basically be able to take your Bitcoin that you have bought that's in a wallet that's not part of Coinbase. Right. The moment that your wallet's part of Coinbase, by the way, that the government now knows what your wallet has in it. So if you have a Bitcoin wallet that has no ties to any centralized hub, you can now go and basically cash out, the majority, almost up to 10 grand, and not have anybody asking you a whole bunch of questions. Again, I just don't think people are doing it unless you're in the nefarious business. And if you are, great. I respect that. I don't hate the game.
I'm just seeing what I'm seeing in the real world, and it's happening.
Yeah. Now, again, I've used them. I used it. I got trapped. I didn't have a wallet, but I had my phone, and so I ended up using.
Well, and you're talking to, you're talking to someone who's never had a Bitcoin.
Oh yeah,
and I don't have FOMO, but it's. I think you're to the point where I think what is it? BlackRock said everyone should have 2% of their savings.
Well, we're only 2 years away before the end. I think it might only be 2 years before the end. Before the end, before no more Bitcoins are going to be made. Yeah.
That's the problem. It's a fixed resource.
Exactly. It's a fixed supply. And so I sold the huge chunk of mine. I bought my car with it, and I don't necessarily regret it. I kept just a little bit of it, but then I also have a bunch of other other coins. But the ATMs, I think they're going to be there. I just don't think that
it's weird.
Yeah, it is.
Well, buy some Bitcoin. Buy a $3,000 NVIDIA computer.
That's what I'm getting.
We'll live and work in America. Avoid the EU.
Or Canada.
Or
the 51st state.
No, but just if you're coding, go get Cursor. Load up Claude.
Get it.
And go and work hard, work
Dude,
smarter.
But build something insane that you never thought you could build. That's the key. Go build something that's oh my God.
Yeah,
you have no idea that you were able to friggin' do something like that.
Go build something, and we'll catch back up with you guys. Hopefully next time there'll be a lot more news and new things we can talk about. We'll get into some of the things we're working on.
Yep.
And we need to get our guest going, so we'll have a guest next time, hopefully. And we'll get this thing back going. For all of you that stuck with us through the break, we really appreciate you guys. We're gonna try to get to 500 subscribers, maybe then 1,000, and then more. So check us out on YouTube, the Big Cheese AI Podcast. This is Sean, Jacob, and then Brandon's over there. You know,
I was.
yeah, there he is. And until next time, we'll see you.
Sound effect. Ow.
Did it? Do you think that it did it?